Hey guys, welcome to the pod. So, this morning when I was reflecting on what I wanted to record about, because I kind of have like a whole list of stuff that, has come to me over time, ideas of topics that I want to have. And, this morning when I went to look at my list, I didn't really vibe with any of the topics that I had written down. So, I sat down and I opened up the Akashic Records and I opened up the Akashic Records for the collective that follows me. And so I just kind of started to ask some questions. But I'm going to be talking to you guys all about holding the vision of your desires and how we can do that, what it looks like, and how to continue anchoring back into your truth and your body and your journey along the way. So I know a lot of you who follow me are entrepreneurs. Maybe you are at the start of your business journey, or maybe you're well on your way, and maybe you're not a business owner at all. And this podcast is perfect for literally all of the above. So, one thing that I've really been shifting focus on over the last year is not just having goals and dreams for my business, but also having goals and dreams for my personal life. Because when you start to build that muscle with achieving the things that you want to achieve in your personal life and finding success in the things that you do in your personal life, and also just calling in and having experiences in your life that bring you all the joy. I've been doing that a lot this last year, is like asking myself, like, what would be really fun for me to do? Like, maybe signing up for a dance class or learning French again, or, whatever it is that brings you joy and makes you feel happy. I think that when we go through things like a breakup or starting over, we kind of reinvent our lives, but you don't need to wait for a breakup. You don't need to wait for a big life change to reinvent your life. You can just decide that you want to have a better life and that you want to enjoy your life more. So something that I really want to bring up is the whole idea of comparison. We all do it, even if we don't realize it. Like, I've never been the kind of person who looked at other women on Instagram and was jealous of their bodies or whatever, but I've definitely been the type of person who has seen other people's success and been a little envious and sometimes even jealous because they have what I want and I don't have it yet. And that's fine. That's completely normal, to feel like that, as long as we're not letting it eat us up and consume us. But there's a really important distinction to make. And I think it's important for us to really discern who and what we're following and what we're observing in our lives and how it makes us feel. Because if you're constantly looking at somebody else's life and what they're sharing and having all of these icky feelings, and maybe it's time to unfollow. I think for me, there's been certain times in my life where I need to discern what I'm consuming because I know I'm in a fragile place and I don't want to be swayed or distracted from my own purpose and my own goals. But also too, like, using that as a mirror when we feel that jealousy to ask ourselves, like, what do they have that I don't have? And why do I think I can't have it? Something that I really love to do, though, is when I am feeling discouraged, there's certain people who I find very inspirational. And so I will save their posts. And when I'm feeling like I'm having a hard day and I feel like discouraged, like, I don't know where I'm going and I don't know if what I'm doing makes sense or if I'm ever going to have the success that I want. And I go back and I watch all those videos and I bring myself back to my center and I get myself jacked up again. I always like to say, like, what garden are you watering? What thoughts are you feeding? Because we all have doubts. It's just a question of, are you going to allow those doubts to run rampant? Are you going to allow yourself to spiral and continue down this path of speaking badly about yourself and doubting yourself? Or are you going to have a pivot point where you say, oh, hey, I'm having these thoughts where I'm doubting myself. I'm going to choose to shift this. And every time that you do that, you reinforce a new pattern. The more awareness that you can have around your thoughts, the easier it is for you to create a new reality for yourself. But I think that, sometimes social media can show us things that we desire that we never could have dreamt of for ourselves. So it's also this other really beautiful side of that. I have people that I follow in my life where I'm like, when I watch their stuff, I feel my heart opening and I feel so much happiness and joy for them. And I know that that's showing me that that's where I want to go as well. And it shows me what's possible. And that's, a big part of the podcast was about sharing stories and showing you what is possible for you so that you can go ahead and dream big for yourself. The intention is to have more guests on here, but as I'm navigating my health issues, my chronic fatigue, I am doing mostly solo podcasts, but you will see a couple of guests happening in the next couple of months. So stay tuned for that. I'm excited to start interviewing some people again. But I think that for whatever reason, there's something that happens for all of us when we are on the path to following our purpose, following our desires, following our dreams, that we think that it's easier for everybody else and that they have something figured out or they know something that we don't. And that is not true. There's so many parts of people's stories that you don't see. There's so many struggles that you don't see, and that's why I like to be very transparent and open with you guys about the things that I'm struggling with and the things that I'm going through with in my life, because I know that when I see other people who are where I want to be talking about their journey to get there, I'm like, oh my God, okay, so you were like me one day. And then it gives you that much more ammo to keep going. You're like, okay, this is possible. Like, I got this. One of the other biggest things that stops us from allowing ourselves to have desires or allowing ourselves to set goals for ourselves or create these dreams is the fact that we don't know how we're going to get there. We don't know what steps we're going to need to take to get there, and we don't know how we'll be able to find the money to get there. We don't know how we'll be able to become the version of us who can hold all of that. And I always say, hold the vision, move your feet. Like, let God work out the details, move your feet. All you have to do is continue taking the tiny little steps that you're meant to take every single day, and you will end up where you want to go. I remember when I wanted to quit plumbing and I wasn't sure what I wanted to do. I thought that I wanted to work with psychology, and I just kept getting discouraged about how many years of schooling, how much money had to be put into it. And eventually I was like, I'm just going to start. You know what? I'm just going to start, because at least then I'll be that much closer to where I want to go, instead of just continuing to stay exactly where I am and not take a step because I'm worried about how long it's going to take. Like, just do it. And then look at how my life unfolded. I never ended up continuing with my psychology classes. I ended up finding somatics and Reiki and starting a business with that, which I am so grateful that I found, because I feel like I have so much freedom in what I do. And I don't feel like I would have had that if I went to do psychology school. But taking that step, deciding that I was going to commit myself to this next phase of my life, I think is what led me to finding my somatics course. It shows the universe, like, okay, I'm ready. I'm doing the things. I'm dedicated to myself. I'm not going to allow myself to stay in this comfort zone that I've created, that I have lived in for so long. I'm going to take a leap, start something new, and trust that the path will unfold in front of me as I go. And it did. And I think that just shows you too, like, things almost never end up exactly how you think they will or how you originally wanted them to. They almost always end up being way better than you could have ever imagined. So something that I've been thinking about for, I don't know, I want to say like a year now, going on this European pilgrimage to go and visit all these sacred sites. And I kept thinking to myself, like, okay, like maybe I'll go next year. Like, hopefully I'll have enough money for it. And in the last month or two, I just decided I'm going. I'm going at some point in the next few years. I don't know how, when, but I'm just going to trust that it's going to work out and it's going to happen. And I'm going to start planning my trip as if I'm going on it, planning where I'm going, planning where I want to, like what I want to see, planning where I want to stay, allowing myself to like just have the desire and dream and get excited about it, because half of the enjoyment when it comes to, allowing yourself to have these desires and allowing yourself to plan these things is all of the excitement and the joy that comes while you're planning it, while you're figuring it out. Another really big goal that I wanted for myself was that I want to have a second place in BC sometime in the next couple of years as well. Again, don't know how I'm going to do it. Don't know what, don't know how, but I'm trusting that it's going to happen because it's where my heart is calling me. It's what I want, and why not? And just, again, allowing myself to say, hey, this is what I'm doing has created a shift for me where I'm like, fuck yeah, this is so exciting. I'm so stoked to do this. And depending on the dream or the goal, you can maybe ask yourself, okay, like what are some steps? What is a step that I can take right now to make this happen? And maybe there isn't a step that you can take right now. Maybe it's just holding the vision and allowing yourself to be excited about it and focusing on what's present in front of you right now and enjoying your life right now. I think that if we knew all the steps that it takes to get us to where we want to go, we probably wouldn't even start the journey, because sometimes some of the steps really fucking suck and they're scary and uncomfortable, or we have to go through something really painful to get there. And so I think that there is almost kind of like, I think that there's a purpose in us not knowing all the details, because we would get so overwhelmed. We already have so much to worry about in our lives. The last thing we need is to be holding all this information for literally everything in our lives. But as human beings, we always want to know the answers. We always want to plan things out. Especially for me, I've always been like this. Like, I'm a clinger to information. I'm always asking questions. Always want to know all the details to everything so that I can my mind can hyper analyze every single different aspect of it so that I can create safety for myself through potentially knowing what the outcome is. But there's so many variables, you'll never be able to truly know the outcome for, whatever journey that you're going on. So I think that it's really important to create space for yourself to sit down and to really think about all of the things that you want and desire in your life. What are the things that you've always wanted, but you're never really allowed yourself to want because it just feels so far out of reach? Write them down on paper and create that intention for yourself. Something that's really important, an important part of this practice as well, is to look at all the things that you dreamt of that you never thought you'd have, that you now have. And it might even be something so small, like my mentor pointed out to me. I used to struggle with chronic yeast infections and I struggle with a lot of gut issues. And for such a long time, I just felt like I needed somebody to support me. I just felt like I was doing it all on my own and I was very discouraged. And I found a Chinese medicine doctor last year who I've now started working with consistently, drinking herbs every day and going for acupuncture and all that stuff. I didn't even think about it, but that is such a huge win for me. So, looking back at all of these aspects of your life, all of these times that you've received these things, I think that gratitude is such an important practice in life. And it's something that I'm always reminded of constantly, to come back to gratitude, to feel the happiness for all the things that I already have in my life. Even as I was preparing and writing some notes for this podcast, I was thinking about all of the things that I desired in the past that I now have that I never thought would happen so soon. Moving on to an acreage, I thought that would be years away, and it's here just in a way I didn't expect it. Financial freedom. I never would have expected that I would have financial freedom right now. A year ago, I would have never guessed that I'd be where I am now. And it's easy to like not fully appreciate it when it doesn't come in the ways that we thought it would, right? Like when I was thinking about wanting to live on an acreage, I thought I was going to be buying again and that I was going to be buying this beautiful house and all of these things. I ended up renting and living in a tiny little trailer, this little shoebox that is my house. I love it. It's like as old as I am, and it's not the prettiest, but I love it here. I feel like I'm in like a little cabin in the woods. I'm also enjoying living in such a small space because it's so easy for me to clean. The laundry room is right next to my bedroom, so it's like don't have to go into the basement anymore. So it's just so funny how, I would have wanted or expected this big house and all these things, but this little house is like literally exactly what I needed for this phase in my life. I needed things to just be easy for me. I needed to be held in this small little space, this little cocoon. And I love it here. And even with my financial freedom, I was able to find financial freedom for myself by selling my house and giving myself spaciousness so that I could build my business and heal and grow without having any pressure on me. Did I find financial freedom in the ways that I wanted or expected? No. But do I still have financial freedom? Yes. And that's something I was reflecting on this morning. I very often get caught up in this well, I'll feel better when my business is making XYZ because then I know that I'll be good. I'll finally feel good financially when I'm making more money instead of remembering that I have everything that I need right now and that this is a season of my life that I am not meant to be doing as much and that I've been given this beautiful opportunity to create the life and the business that I want in a sustainable way where I don't burn myself out and where I really have the space to be in my feminine flow after so many years of being so much in my masculine, working in the trades. And it's been so freaking nice. Like, I love it. It's amazing. I'm so grateful. So something that I like to do is every week I set goals for myself. I set goals for my business. I set goals for my personal life as well. And I'm starting to set monthly goals for myself, and I always do yearly goals as well. And what this does for me is it helps keep me accountable for the things that I actually want to do. If I have things that I want to accomplish and they're just kind of floating in the back of my mind, I will probably just keep procrastinating. When I write them down and I continue to revisit them over and over again, maybe writing them in your journal, taking a picture of them, and then putting them in an album in your phone where you can continue to look back on them periodically as like checkpoints, like, hey, oh yeah, remember I have these goals. Okay, like let's work towards them. Something that you will notice along the way is sometimes we will set goals for ourselves that are not actually our goals. And as I was talking about before, like social media, sometimes it can lead us astray. Sometimes it can really expand us and show us what is possible for us, but it can also lead us astray. I saw somebody sharing something about how she wanted chickens or how she thought she wanted chickens when she moved on onto her acreage, and then she realized that she didn't actually want chickens. And I think that happens to all of us, no matter how connected we are. We just, when we're dreaming, when we're creating this this vision for ourselves, sometimes we'll inherit our families, our culture, our society's dreams, our goals, and make them as our own. And so something that happens along the way as we move through this journey called life, the more time we spend with ourselves, we start to get to know ourselves better. We start to realize, hey, I actually don't enjoy this. But if you never tried, you would never know. So there's something to be said about that, and I even was talking to my mentor the other day when I was talking about launching my somatic course. I was like, how am I going to launch this? I don't like the typical ways that people launch their stuff where it's very excessive posting or talking about it for, 30 days or 2 weeks or 3 weeks or whatever, like that to me is like, it just sucks the life out of me just to think about it. And so I have been kind of creating ideas in my mind about how I want to launch and what feels good for me. But when I asked her, she was talking to me about like, well, when you're launching something for the first time, really, I've launched other things before in a sense, like workshops and other various little group things, but I've never really found a groove that works for me. And I haven't ever really had a very successful launch when it comes to something online, I would say. And so there's a lot of doubts coming up where I'm like, how am I going to actually launch this in a way that feels good and is also successful? And she's like, well, you're just going to try different things and you're just going to continue talking about it and talking about it and talking about it and talking about it. And she's like, the more you talk about it, the better you'll get at talking about it. She's like, and I think it's so beautiful that this is going to be such a foundational, I mean, it's somatic foundations, but such a foundational course for all the people who come into my world. Like, I will always have this course. I might update it, I might retake the videos, but I will always have this course because it is the basis of my work. So with that said, that means that I now have this opportunity to continue growing and not needing necessarily to worry about the short-term success of it. And that feels really good for me. So I started sitting in mediumship circles last night. I'm really excited to start practicing my mediumship and offering that at some point. But something that dropped in last night was to spend more time connecting to my spirit team, and that's why this morning I really sat down and took the time to journal and write and really tap in when it came to recording this episode. Not that I don't tap in usually when I record episodes. I usually always write notes and I brainstorm and I think of all the things, but sometimes when I'm doing things in my business, I will kind of come at it in this like get it done attitude where I'm like, okay, these are all the things on my list. I have to get them done, get them done, and get them done. But I feel like when I do that and when I live like that, I'm very much in that masculine and I'm not really tapping into my feminine flow in the sense that I'm not allowing myself to have as much spaciousness and creativity. And so that was something that last night dropped in that I want to do more of, is tapping in, communicating with my spirit team, and I took a long time this morning to connect to my spirit team, and not just about the podcast, but just about me, myself in general. And I sometimes get away from that because I get, like I said, lost in the to-do list. And I feel like I have to get all these things done. But the whole purpose of me having my own business is so that I can have the freedom to do whatever the hell I want to do. And that means having a slower, more intentional work day, taking the time to connect with myself, connect to my spirit team, and really tap in instead of kind of just go, go, go. And that just feels so much better for me. That's when I feel the most in flow, is when I take my time and I journal and I reflect and I don't rush and I take breaks in between the things that I do, because sitting at a computer all day long just kills my creativity, totally kills it. So I always have to make sure that I'm taking breaks and not overworking myself. But that's something I've been talking about, I feel like, a lot lately, is finding that balance between that version of me that would burn out and go so hard, and then the other side of me that was burnt out and didn't have the energy to do anything at all. And that happens as we start to find awareness in things. We'll start to titrate between the old version of us and the new version of us, and sometimes we will still swing far, but a lot of the time we will start to swing in these smaller pendulations and find more of that happy medium. So something that I also like to do is to create meditations for myself. And so I wanted to bring that forward because I think this is such a beautiful way to help you anchor back into your journey and anchor back into your truth. And when I'm talking about anchoring back into your truth, I'm talking about like in those moments of doubt, in those moments when we get discouraged, coming back to yourself and reminding yourself, this is the journey that I'm meant to be on. This is where I'm supposed to go. And then kind of coming back to that confidence and that sureness in yourself. So I literally have a meditation where I'm like literally just pumping myself up and I'm like, you got this. Like, this is what you're meant to do. And honestly, listening to it gets me so jacked up. And I mean, it's so easy to do. Like, for this specific one, I just used the recording app in my phone and I can play it when I'm driving, play it whenever. I think too, when it comes to following the things that you really desire, like following your dreams, especially the things that maybe feel really crazy and not easy, really, really huge. Like for me, my Europe trip, I think that when you follow these dreams, they unlock things for you along the way. It's almost like, I think about it like a video game, like you go to this new place, you have this new experience, and now all of a sudden you've unlocked this whole new world for yourself. You connect with new people, you have new experiences, and you expand your capacity for what's known in your life, which is a really cool thing. And I think that a lot of the times we think that the pinnacle of what it is that we want is having what it is that we want. But I think such a huge part of it is who you become on the way. Like, maybe it's not just about going on this Europe trip for me and visiting these sacred sites. Maybe it's about becoming the version of me who trusts herself enough to follow a calling. Maybe having the second home in BC isn't just about having the second home in BC. It's about expanding my capacity to receive abundance, beauty, rest, freedom. See what I mean? And I think now is a perfect time to bring in the divine timing. I think sometimes we don't realize, if I had the thing that I wanted right now, would I be able to hold that? If I look back at when I started my business and where I am right now, if I would have had the financial freedom right off the start, I would have wasted it all on buying courses and paying for coaches to feed that lack of self-worth and lack of self-trust in myself. If I were to have the Euro trip right now, I wouldn't have the energy to truly enjoy myself because of all the health issues that I'm dealing with. So, when these moments where we get discouraged and we feel like we're not where we want to be, and we see other people where we think we want to be, just keep coming back to, I'm on my own timeline. I'm on my own timeline. I am on my own timeline. And like I said, who you are between now and where you want to go, you have this beautiful opportunity to devote yourself to becoming the version of you who has all those things. Can you be strong enough to be devoted to something that hasn't happened yet? Can you be strong enough to have faith even when all of the data is showing you that it's not working right now? Can you have faith that if you continue to pour into whatever it is that you're pouring into, that it will come to fruition? Can you stay open after disappointment, and continue to follow all the things that bring you joy? When I was waking up this morning, I just had this idea drop in, and it's something that I feel like has been swimming around in my head for a little while, where I'm like, I love watching reality TV, and I've thought in my head, like, I wish that I could, like, have somewhere to share my thoughts on, what's going on in reality, like, with the characters and stuff. And then it finally, like, solidified and dropped in this morning, where it was like, I'm going to start recording myself, giving my point of view as a somatic healer, what's going on, like, with the characters and, like, the patterns that I see, and using that as a platform to tie something that brings me joy to something else that brings me joy. Just sitting and lounging on the couch and getting into my reality TV shows. I love doing that. It's like one of my guilty pleasures. And also the healing part of that. I love doing healing work. I love talking about healing. So I'm really excited to be sharing that with you guys. So stay tuned for that. Make sure that you find me on YouTube and subscribe, because that's where all that content is going to be. I'll probably share little clips of it on Instagram as well and all my other socials, but YouTube will be where the bulk of it is. But, speaking of reality TV, it's funny because I was thinking about one of the characters on Southern Charms, one of the guys on Southern Charm, Craig, and he goes through this phase where I think what's happening, they don't really say this, but he goes to school to be a lawyer, and then he starts the show. And I'm guessing that he starts getting paid by the show, so he doesn't really have to go be a lawyer. And then he goes through this weird stage where he's like trying gardening and sewing and all these different things. And I'm pretty sure what happens is he actually starts a successful pillow business. And all of the people in his life, at the time are like, you're so stupid, like, you're so weird, like, why are you doing this? Like, grow up and, like, get a real job. And, what I see happening is him being in this phase of his life where he's, like, really trying to reinvent himself, and he's trying all these different things, and everyone's giving him such a hard time, and it's so sad to see, because he was really following his own path and honoring his wants and desires and trying all the things that brought him joy. And then one of the things that he did that brought him joy ended up making him a whole bunch of money. So I just thought that was such a good story to bring in, because so often when we have these weird to other people dreams, we feel like we allow them to get in our head and to tell us that it's not possible. And so sometimes I think when we have these big goals, it's important to sometimes hold your cards a little bit close to your chest until some of these things start to happen, especially if you're feeling very insecure. I think that when you're feeling insecure about where you're going, it's very easy for us to get knocked off of our path and our journey. And so sometimes it's good to cultivate that self-trust and to cultivate that vision for yourself on your own before you share it with people in your life. There's always going to be seasons where it doesn't feel like anything's happening, and especially for a big portion of the beginning of your journey, it's going to feel like nothing's working. And again, it's like, who can you be in those moments where nothing feels like it's working? Life always works in ebbs and flows and seasons and cycles. So there's always going to be cycles where things are quiet and it doesn't feel like anything's happening. And those cycles are preparing you for what's next, I was sitting and reflecting the other day, writing in my journal. I was discouraged about that. I thought that I would be busier in my business right now. And I realized that, I'm in this season of healing right now. And again, I don't have the energy to hold a really, really busy season in my business. And to realize that the reason I'm here is not because of a lack of trying or something that I'm doing wrong, but that this is exactly where I'm supposed to be right now. This is divine timing for me. This is my space to create all my courses, to do my weekly podcast, to have all the space to do all the creating behind the scenes that I wouldn't have time to do if I was super, super busy in my business. And just allowing that little shift to happen, I think, was so crucial for me to realize that it's not about me. We can be honest with ourselves, and there are times where maybe we need to pick up the pace a little bit, or maybe we need to hold ourselves accountable. But I always think that every detour has its purpose. Every slow season has its purpose. It's all a part of the journey. So continue to hold that vision. If you need a hype girl, I can be your hype girl. Shoot me a message. Let me know what you are dreaming right now. Let me know something that you really want that feels really far out of reach. And let's hold the vision together. Like, we got this. We're going to have everything that we want. Keep asking yourself every single day, what step do I need to take towards where I'm going. And trust, have faith that it is all unfolding in the most perfect divine timing. Thank you for sitting with me today, you guys. And again, if you're listening to this on YouTube, make sure you hit the subscribe button. If you're listening to this on any other listening platform, make sure you hit the follow button. Don't hesitate to reach out. Share any ahas you had while listening. I always love to hear that kind of stuff. And I hope everybody has an amazing day. I will see you guys next week.